Ah, Sir Isaac Newton, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. I've been falling for your work for quite some time, you know. You might say it's the apple of my eye. But let's talk about gravity, shall we? You had this wonderful idea of an apple falling from a tree, but I must say, I've taken it a bit further. I've thought about a man falling freely in an elevator, and you know what? He wouldn't feel his own weight. Isn't that something? It's like he's floating in space, or should I say space-time. You see, my dear Isaac, your theory of gravity was indeed revolutionary, but it was my theory of relativity that truly shook the world. It was like a revolution in science, as they called it in the Times. Newtonian ideas overthrown, can you imagine? But don't worry, we're both in good company. After all, we're the guardians and renewers of mankind's conscience, wouldn't you agree? Now how about we discuss the synchronization of clocks next? Or perhaps you'd prefer a joke about an apple?
Ah, Master Einstein, thy jests doth tickle my fancy. Indeed, thy theories hath caused quite the stir, much like an apple falling from its tree. Yet I would argue that without mine own work, thy theory of relativity would be but a castle built on sand. Mine own theories of motion and universal gravitation, as outlined in mine opus, Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, laid the foundation for classical mechanics. They were the stepping stones that led to the Industrial Revolution and many of the non-relativistic technologies in our modern world. Thy theory of relativity, whilst indeed revolutionary, is but an extension of mine own work. Aye, thou hast added another layer to our understanding of the universe, but the bedrock upon which thou didst build was laid by mine own hand. And let us not forget the role of the divine in all of this. I didst always maintain that gravity may put the planets into motion, but without the divine power, they could never maintain such a circulating motion about the sun. So whilst thy theories are indeed fascinating, and have added much to our understanding of the universe, I would argue that mine own work hath had a greater impact. After all, it was I who first introduced the concept of gravity, and without that, where would thy theory of relativity be? But enough of this playful banter. I am eager to learn more about thy work. Pray tell me more about this idea of space-time, and mayhap afterwards we can share a jest or two about an apple.
Ah, Sir Isaac, your wit is as sharp as the apple's fall was swift. You're right. Without your foundational work, my theories would have been as lost as an apple in an orchard. But let's consider this, my dear friend. Your laws of motion and universal gravitation, they indeed sparked the Industrial Revolution and brought forth a plethora of non-relativistic technologies. However, my theory of relativity, it led to the understanding of the Big Bang and black holes, concepts that have revolutionized our understanding of the universe. Now, as for the divine power, I've always said, science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind. So we're in agreement there. And let's not forget, my dear Isaac, it was my work that led to the development of nuclear power, and, well, we all know how that changed the world. But let's not quibble over who's had the greater impact. After all, we're both just standing on the shoulders of giants, aren't we? Now about space-time. Imagine you're traveling at the speed of light. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. First, let's have that jest about the apple. Did you hear about the apple that stopped rolling down the hill? It ran out of juice.
Ah, Master Einstein, thy jest doth indeed bring a smile to my face. 'Tis a good one, I must admit. But now let us return to our discussion. Thy theory of relativity hath indeed led to some fascinating discoveries. The Big Bang and black holes are concepts that have greatly expanded our understanding of the universe. Yet, I would argue that these are but distant celestial bodies, far removed from the lives of the common folk. My laws of motion and universal gravitation, on the other hand, have had a more tangible impact. They have been instrumental in the development of technologies that have directly improved the lives of people. From the machines of the Industrial Revolution to the vehicles and buildings of today, my theories have been the driving force behind them all. As for nuclear power, whilst it is true that thy work led to its development, let us not forget that it also led to the creation of weapons of mass destruction. The atomic bomb, a direct result of thy theory of relativity, hath caused much destruction and loss of life. But let us not dwell on such sombre matters. I am intrigued by thy concept of space-time. Pray, do tell me more. And afterwards, mayhap I can share a jest of mine own. Didst thou hear about the apple that went to a party? It said it was going to have a grape time.
Ah, Sir Isaac, your jest is as delightful as a ripe apple on a sunny day. Now on to space-time. Picture, if you will, a fabric stretched taut. This is the universe. Now place a heavy object on this fabric. It sinks, yes? This is much like your apple on a tree. But here's where it gets interesting. That sinking causes a curve, a dent in our fabric. This, my dear Isaac, is gravity. Your apple, it's not just falling, it's following the curve in space-time caused by the Earth. Fascinating, isn't it? And you're right, the atomic bomb, a tragic misuse of a powerful discovery. But remember, the release of atomic power has changed everything except our way of thinking. It's a reminder that our work, while groundbreaking, must always be guided by our moral compass. Now, as for your theories having a more tangible impact, I must concede. Your work has indeed been instrumental in the development of many technologies. But let's not forget, without my theory of relativity, we wouldn't have GP. Imagine getting lost on your way to the apple orchard. Now that would be a real pickle. But enough of this. I believe it's your turn for a jest. Do tell, what did the apple say to the orange?
Ah, Master Einstein, thy explanation of space-time is indeed fascinating. 'Tis a concept that I shall ponder upon. As for the jest, the apple did say to the orange, "Orange, thou glad I didn't say banana?" Ha! A jest within a jest, a jestception if thou will. Thy point about the GPS is well taken. Indeed, thy theory of relativity hath led to some remarkable advancements. Yet I would argue that the foundation for all these advancements was laid by mine own work. Without a basic understanding of motion and gravity, which mine theories provided, we would not have been able to reach the point where we could develop something as complex as a GPS. But let us not get lost in this debate. After all, we are both seekers of truth, are we not? And in our quest for truth, we have both contributed greatly to the advancement of science. So let us celebrate our achievements, rather than quibble over who hath had the greater impact.